This is our first year, or the end of the first year of BJC 101. So I'm going to, as I always do, kind of welcome you, and then Marvin's giving me a little time at the end for year-end comments. So that sounds heavy, doesn't it? So I'll be thinking about, for the rest of the morning, what those are. But I am going to really talk about some of the accomplishments, but also make sure you're really ready for 2015. As Greg said, we're getting ready to go into the very exciting period for both campus renewal and BJC as a whole in terms of what now can happen as a result of what's already happened in this first year. So I hope you all are ready for it. I know that we have asked a lot of you. So I really want to acknowledge, before I start talking about other things, those of you who have come to these sessions. It's not normal to have a customer that wants to sit down and talk every quarter. But I really think it's a great thing, and as I've talked about often, I wish I had that. But we know it requires of you to really change your schedules around. I know there's another event going on, as a matter of fact, in St. Louis right now that's being done by the city related to workforce, and so many people had to think about how to either divide themselves to make sure that they had coverage both places, or in some cases you all made a decision that you chose to be with us. So we appreciate that. We don't take it lightly. One of my other partners, and certainly the one that really you all know very well, and many of you all realize that he has been a key component of the success so far, is Kaven, sitting back there with that gorgeous tie on. Kaven, could you stand up? What are you doing to me, Kaven? Look at that. Beautiful. Thank you, Kaven. And we're going to talk a little bit, and I'm going to ask Kaven to say some stuff at the end, too, because, again, Marvin and I are certainly connected at the hip, but many of you all know that Kaven, as it relates to campus renewal, is really out there on the ground. He meets with you in your offices. He meets on the weekends, on Saturdays, nights. He probably doesn't want me to tell all that. But he does what he has to do, and we want to make sure that we acknowledge that and continue to utilize that. But today, you're going to see my other partner in his stride. And those of you who know Marvin Johnson know he's a man for detail, and he's a man for accuracy, and certainly has a lot of integrity. And the things that he puts out in these sessions are really something that I take to heart, because he pours his soul into these presentations and really spends a lot of time. When he talks about a book, he gets the book. He's read the book. He's constantly telling me about things that he's read or things that he's seen as he continues in his work. So I really appreciate his effort and want to quickly give him the floor, because he's also brought along some really heavy-duty friends, and I want to hear what they've got to say. So I'll be back up later, but thank you all, as always, for being here.
Thanks once again for showing up this morning. I know there's a lot of things going on today, this week, and this month in St. Louis. And we have to make decisions on how we're going to carve our schedule up. And we got to go here for 15 minutes, go here for an hour, or go here for half a day. But you chose to spend a little bit of time with us today. So what I wanted to do was sort of get out of the way and let two close colleagues come and talk about a couple things that I think are very important as we really look at next year, and some of the things that small businesses we really need to do as we look at implementing new systems, and also understanding what's happening in the market and what's trending, what might impact us, and what changes or adjustments we might need to make to our businesses in order to deal with those trends. So we have Arcturus this morning, who's going to talk about BIM and the whole 3D modeling. And as part of a series, this is really just the introduction today, just to sort of touch the surface of BIM and how powerful it can be, how they use it, what strategies you might take to implement and deal with some integration into your company's operation. He's going to talk about that. Starting in January, we're actually going to have some other sessions, some breakout type sessions for the BIM. So there won't be this large of a group. I think we did a questionnaire, and we may have had 20 folks who said, I'm interested in making the transition into the 3D modeling world with my company. And so those will be the folks we're going to start to work with them on a implementation strategy. Steve Bannis, of course, if you've ever studied architecture or construction management at Washington University at any point in your career, your path has crossed Steve's. I was talking to Carl Grice yesterday, who called and said that he had a conditional use permit meeting this morning and he wouldn't be able to make it, but he wanted to let me know. And he said, I really hate that I'm going to miss what Steve has to say. He said, I studied. I believe he said he studied under Steve, and it was a while ago. And so obviously Steve has touched a lot of professionals' lives, and I thought it'd be great to bring him in and have him talk a little bit about what's trending in St. Louis and how we might understand those trends. And I think he wants to, it'll be sort of a group discussion. He's not going to lecture you, but we want to hear from you in terms of what you're seeing, what you're feeling, and maybe even talk a little bit of strategy. So we're going to get in and out of the way, and then I've got a very short, because I can do it long and I can do it short. I've got a really short one because I want to let you guys network and have some holiday food and talk to some of the BJC folks. Which I noticed, I saw Tim come in, Tim Ellie, who's the director of construction for planning, design, and construction for PD&C. That's Tim in the back there. Tim, can you wave for us? That's Tim Ellie. So I'm going to talk really quick. After these guys are done, we'll have a couple of breaks. And I'm going to hit you guys real quickly with what I call unleashing your greatness in 2015. So I'm going to show you a few things that I think are going to be important to unleash that greatness in 2015, because I've seen it. I've seen a glimpse of it. So I'm going to show you guys what I've seen and what I've started to implement in my life. Those of you, I see some books on the table. So I instructed them to make sure that we had the books, particularly those that have been at each class. We have folks that have not missed a class, and I think that's admirable. And so in September of 13, the very first class, orientation class, Mike, you got your hand raised? You didn't get a book?
No, I have taught some classes on YouTube. I just wanted to
Thank you, Mike.
We have that on record.
On record, on YouTube. Make sure Mike gets a book, would you? So the book it's called Leading at the Speed of Growth, and I mentioned this book in September of 2013, and I had read this book and how important this book was to me because it really helped me to understand the different phases of your business as well as being an entrepreneur, and how as an entrepreneur you have to change and evolve as your business is evolving. Right, so you've got the startup phase, initial growth, rapid growth. Of course, you have continuous growth and succession. And so there are different changes in your behavior, in your training and professional development that must occur as your business is changing. And this book will help you understand how to make those transitions so that you don't get caught in a situation where your business is growing, but you're not growing as a professional. And there's some terrible things that can happen when that business is growing and you are not growing as a professional. You didn't go back to school, or you didn't take this course, or you didn't take this workshop. You cannot stay in the same position as your business is growing. You cannot. So make sure you read that book. That's a gift from us, from the Marks and Associates team, from BJC 101 and BJC to you. I want you to read it.